Everybody, in the next video here for the skills technical training for graphic design. This video we're going to be looking at bleeds and setting up bleeds that are correct depending on the job that you're doing, making sure that their exact value is correct as well. Very important. Again, when jobs extend to the edge of your page, you should always have a bleed. And again, it's got to be a certain amount so that when they go to trim it, it's going to cut off where it should. All right, so bleed is done at the exact value. We're going to look at this in InDesign and Illustrator. So let's go to InDesign for a second. InDesign is an easy setup. And I'm going to show you both in a new document and in an existing document. So if I go File, New Document, you will find that over in the settings here, I'll just set it to inches so it's a little easier for some who don't know picas. Whatever size of your document it is doesn't really matter. But down here, when you scroll down under margins, you'll see bleed and slug. And a correct bleed, unless it's specified otherwise, is 0.125. So 1/8 of an inch, and it should be set to all sides. So if I hit a create on that document, you will see the document margin, which is purple. You see the document size, but on the outside of the document, you will see this reddish line, which is indicating your bleed zone. So that is where your artwork would extend to if it should touch the edge of the page. All right, so that's how that would be set on a new document. In an existing document like one that we have here, we can set that after the fact by going to File, Document Setup, and you'll find it right here. Sometimes this window is closed. Sometimes it looks like that, so you have to hit this little arrow. And same thing, you know, put 0.125, and it'll set it to all the sides. You can also turn off the link and then choose different amounts of bleed for either side. Again, it depends on the job. So we're going to hit OK, and now you'll see the same thing. That red line is added, and now all these little pieces that touch the edge of this document have been extended out to that 0.125 bleed edge. Now, what about Illustrator? Illustrator has a few things about it that can cause some issues. In the document itself, it's fairly exact to InDesign in the way that we can add it after by going to File, Document Setup, right here, bleed, 0.125, and we'll hit OK. And once again, we'll see that red line has been added to show where the bleed zone is. But what happens when you have a die line? What happens when you have a die line like this here? That should not be black, but anyways. This is where things get a little trickier because it is not just a standard rectangular or square page with a consistent bleed around it. We've got a very strange shape that now needs to have a bleed on it because, again, this is the popcorn box, and you can see that these colors need to extend past the edge so that when the popcorn box gets die lined out, die cut, it's not going to look like it's, you know, has a white line or whatever if it shifts. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn off the two layers below. I am going to click the outer edge of the die line. Okay, so I've got this line, which is the outside cut line. This is very important that you choose that line. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to go to Object. I almost missed a step. Before I do that, I'm going to copy it. All right, I've copied this line. And I'm going to paste it in place. So I have created a duplicate. I'll just show you that I've made two copies, okay? You don't actually shift your line like that. But so I have a copy on top of the other line. Then I'm going to go to Object. And I'm going to go to Path. I'm going to offset my path by the amount of my bleed, which is 0.125, or 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to hit OK. And now what you'll see, there's some weird issues with this die line, unfortunately, but now you will see the bleed zone is showing up. Now, one other thing you can do so that it's not actually a line in your artwork is you can select the die line, as I have here, and go to View, scroll all the way down to Guides, and you want to choose Make Guides. And what that will do is it'll turn that line that I just had selected into an actual guide. You'll see it turns blue. All right? And now it's easy because we can see where our artwork should extend to. We just have to extend the artwork to the guide, and then we know that the bleed is going to be perfect. It's going to work exactly as it should, and we are going to get full marks for our bleeds in our document.